the applications. So this report is focused on implementation of Council's previous decision last week. So I'm happy to answer any questions on the report, Your Worship.
Right. Councillor O'Leary?
Thank you, Worship. Do we stand for questions? Oh.
Yep.
Have we received, I have about 3 questions. Have we received any formal complaints about the road being open since the market's been operating that way?
Not to the knowledge of myself or Jason, no.
So no formal complaints. Does the on page, sorry councillors, I'm on page 2, item 15, does the permit that you talk about include from lake to high? Is it specific on the location, or does it just say they can operate a market in Commerce Street?
Yeah. So I think that the permit referenced in 15 is the permit under the Public Places Bylaw, and it's for the operation of the market, which is probably broader than just Commerce Street.
It includes for Commerce Street, Lake to High Street. It does include that specific section of Commerce Street.
So it's prescriptive of exactly where. Yes. So in item 15, you have actually said there, and that's in the recommendation from you, that the traffic management plan will include updating the plan if required, a reconfiguration of the market itself. So my question is, how does that give the market security going forward once we've given them back a 12-month permit on where they locate their stalls? Because I'm reading that doesn't.
I think the notion we're trying to say there is it's the operator's responsibility to manage this market in a way which in particular doesn't unduly or unreasonably impede the flow of traffic through there, and the responsibility will be on him and reinforced through a condition in the permit that we issue in the future to say that he needs to adapt to the situation if at any time that is not the case. So it's very clear that that's a strong legal obligation.
So the reconfiguration of the market then, is that up to staff to decide whether that would be from Cadell to High Street, Kent to High Street, in the Kent Street car park? Is that something staff are just going to decide if that triggers?
Look, I think we're putting the onus on the market operator to decide that, and I think what was envisaged was minor amendments to the market rather than a major reconfiguration of the market. Perhaps it might mean more car parks not occupied by markets or whatever. So I don't think it was envisaged that it'd be a major reconfiguration of the market, but they would have to undertake what was ever necessary to just ensure the reasonable flow of traffic down Commerce Street.
And just one more question, Your Worship. Why are we only issuing the market with 1 month permit each time?
We felt it was prudent just to work on a month-by-month basis as we're working together and going through this trialling process and working through the shared zone. Just seemed to align it with the reports coming to council seemed a very sensible thing to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Hennebrand.
Yes, Your Worship. Cost. We see that we've put $10,000 in an account or anticipating $10,000 as ongoing legal services. Would that cover all issues that we discussed earlier, if you was to go further? Is 10,000 adequate, or is that just the beginning sum?
So, councillors, we have incurred costs to date. The report indicates that to go down the path we've indicated here and to be concurrent with the special consultation process for the bylaw, we envisage a further $10,000 worth of cost. But if it was to change direction and council wanted us to go down a pedestrian mall process or another process, the costing would be additional cost involved in that. So this is our best guess in terms of cost to come in proceeding down the process in consultation with the traffic bylaw.
So that 10,000, Your Worship, is then on top of what we've already spent?
Correct.
As of now, okay.
Okay, any other questions, councillors? No, so we have a recommendation there now. Is anyone wanting to move that recommendation? Yes, councillor Westphal, seconder for that.
Oh, so that's,
Councillor Gow, do you want to speak to it, councillor Westphal?
No,
No?
I'd
Any?
love my voice.
Right, okay,
I've
thank you.
just got a query about the wording of one of those. Could I just raise
Yes,
that now? Just
please.
in 14, second line, it says that any works would need to be included. Shouldn't it be may, because, following the may up above, because it's not clear that, there will be any costs. It's sort of like assuming that there are costs. There are different ways of doing it. So I'm just checking that.
I think that's a sensible amendment to align with the wording on the first line.
Yeah.
What did you say?
So the second line, instead of would, to read may.
So councillor Westphal, you happy with that
Yes.
change? Right, thank you.
Thank you.
And your
Who-
worship, I
who's
think
second?
the
You-
amendment.
Right,
So
so
what
who,
option has councillor Westfield gone for?
so councillor Westphal has moved the recommendation, subject to paragraph 14, second line, the word would change to may, and the seconder for that was, who seconded? Oh, councillor Gow seconded. Councillor O'Leary, did you signal an amendment? What is that amendment?
Yes, Your Worship, as it stands with the changes, that change of the word may in 14, but I'd like 15 to stop at, through the provision of the market's temporary traffic management plan, comma, including updating their plan, full stop. So deleting and, if required, a reconfiguration of the market itself, and I'll speak to that when.
I'll second it for
Councillor
councillor.
Wilson seconded that. Right, can you speak to that, please?
Do you not like that?
Unless
I'm just wondering.
It's clearly altering the recommendation.
Yeah. So it's an amendment, councillor O'Leary, can you speak to that?
You why should do it.
So I think that it provides a little bit of unsettling for the markets, because to me it opens it up into a reconfiguration of the market itself could be quite substantial. I know that Chris just commented and said it would be minor adjustments, but leaving these words in here for me makes it unsettling. A reconfiguration could mean that the market could be pushed from Kent to High Street, which is a third of the space that the market requires to fit all its stallholders in. And of course that, I believe, is also the option that Mr Forlong requires. So I guess if complaints start coming in and these words are still left there, then that reconfiguration could actually mean that. So I think that needs to be taken out. Over the past 6 weeks, the Business Association has worked, I think, considerably hard to help with some of Forlong's concerns. At the beginning, they had stalls out in the car parks in front of his store, and he asked for them to be removed. So they've done that. They've made many changes. I don't believe that they've shown us that they're not willing to change and they're not willing to make small adjustments. But I don't think that having a reconfiguration of a market in there gives them any certainty. Like any business, the stallholders in the markets rely on the location that they're given. And I know over the last 6 weeks, many of the stallholders have had to rejig themselves, and the association, along with Vino, the market manager, has had to move people around, and that's had a bit of an impact on those stalls. A lot of the stalls survive only on a Saturday. Some move on to other markets in the weekend, but a lot of them, this is their livelihood. And just like any business, they rely on people walking past their front door. Unless the mover of the motion wants to change that, that would be my amendment.
just one question on
So just hold on. So are you saying, councillor Westphal, that instead of an amendment, you're happy to incorporate that in your motion?
Yes, that's fine.
Right. So councillor Gow,
a question before, because I was a
Yeah.
seconder, is that from my reading of that and from your previous explanation, some of that tweaking could be actually covered in the traffic management plan by taking those words out. Is that correct?
Look, I've just been looking at it myself, and if the resolution read markets temporary traffic management plan, including updating the plan if required, full stop, I think that captures the intent of what we tried to say. So it wasn't intending to reconfigure the whole market. It was an update of the traffic management plan, which might mean shifting a few things around to make it work. I think that I would personally be happy with the notion of just including updating the plan if required,
Thank you. Well,
and take out the reconfiguration.
Right, just-
thank you. Well, I would agree to that.
Okay, thanks. Just a point of clarification, because this relates entirely to the ensuring that the traffic flow is not impeded.
Correct.
This is what this relates to, because otherwise we run into problems with the legality of it, right. So councillor Henna, I've got councillor Gow's, I've got councillor Wilson. Are you, now that that's incorporated into the motion, are you still?
I'm particularly relaxed now
Right.
that that's been
So I've
incorporated.
got yes, I've got the Deputy Mayor, I've got councillor Hennebury, councillor Forsyth, yep. Councillor Deputy Mayor, you're next.
Yes, thank you, Worship. Look, it was just a question to understand, we make this decision now. Ultimately, Forlongs, and I'm trying to understand from their perspective, can obviously make a submission. That's what we do. But fundamentally, it's like it or lump it. It's no change. Have they got any rights to take further action in this process?
So it's my understanding the council decision is to go down the shared zone path. So there is a special consultation process in place to do that. They, along with other members of the community, will have the opportunity to provide a submission. It will come back to this council for this council to make a decision. And the decision could be judicially reviewed, but there's no redress to the Environment Court, unlike the pedestrian mall provisions, which has that. So this council's decision will be the decision and only subject to judicial review if somebody wanted to go down that path.
So long as we listen to submissions with open
Right, so
mind.
councillor Hennebury?
Yeah, look, I'm trying to give me some information to help me here. In the hospitality trade, when they have tables and chairs outside on the footpath, council charges a permit price for that, right? Does council do the same for the markets?
It's a cost for the equipment itself.
No, but what I'm saying is there's quite a charge that bars and restaurants pay to be on the pavement. How much do the markets charge?
Yeah, look at.
I charge.
Unfortunately, I understand that there is a charge for the permit, but I don't have that information.
So it's
here.
little to nothing. And why I ask you that, look, I've got a property on Commerce Street and I pay very high rates. And I
it's a
just want to
conflict of
know,
interest.
no, this is a good question. You're worried about the markets, but what do they contribute? Apart from what other people would say a social whatever, but I'm asking you, I'm paying rates. I want to know
So
as a
councillor
ratepayer,
Hennebury, what's your
why are they
question?
exempt- Why are they exempt on any charge on the footpath like other businesses?
Right, so I suppose this is where we're at. A motion has been moved and seconded. We are now in debate.
Yes.
We've
and
had
I've-
ample time for questions, and I don't think the information is readily at hand anyway. So if you've got those sorts of questions, you can sort them out offline. Now's not the time for questions, we're into debate. So unless you're speaking for or
Well,
against the
okay,
motion, we're moving
I'm
on.
going to speak against the motion.
All right,
I'm
speak
speaking
against
against
it
the
then.
motion because I'm trying to be fair and equitable here. There is other businesses who run businesses, and when they put anything out on that footpath, get quite a large charge. This is an exemption in Frankton, obviously, and because of that, I'll be voting against it.
Thank you, councillor Forsyth.
Thank you. I agree with those points that
Can you guys, yeah, thanks.
That's good. I was just seeking some information.
All right.
He does own a shop there.
Okay, thank you. So we've now got a councillor who's speaking. Go, thanks.
Thank you. Just regarding the shared zone and a formal process to declare Commerce Street, etc., does that mean in that declaration that the use or not use of the car parks is going to be a part of this declaration or a part of the consultation? That gets addressed at this point, doesn't it?
So, not as part of this paper. This paper is just alerting councillors to the fact that we have started the special consultation process to look at the shared zone. So the Strategy and Policy Committee has looked at the Hamilton City Traffic Bylaw amendments, which is the special consultation process we intend to use to get the public debate going on the shared zone. At the moment, that is written in a form that retains the car parks and is silent on the use of those car parks. That may be an amendment that council want to consider later on in today when they're looking at passing those minutes, whether they want to trigger that debate about the use of the car parks as part of the consultation process.
So it's not part of this motion?
It's not part of this motion here. This motion here is just alerting councillors to the fact that we're implementing their previous decision to declare it a shared zone, and that we're going through that process, which is part of the Hamilton City.
Your Worship,
traffic line.
procedurally, is this a question? I thought you'd already ruled.
So, yeah, thank you, councillor Wilson. I think what is important, however, is that councillors fully understand what it is that they're voting on. That's why I allowed the question. Councillor Forsyth was seeking clarification so she understood what the resolution meant, and the motion meant. I'm happy for that, as opposed to councillor Hennery's question, which was on some other matter. So does that clarify it for you so you understand what the motion's about? Okay, so does anyone else want to speak for or against the motion? No? All right. So we're clear on what we're voting on?
Yeah.
We're going to go to the board then?
Carried 11-2, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Team backlog.
Okay, councillors, the next item on the agenda is item 15,
Fantastic.
page 99.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I can introduce this. Councillors resolved to form an audit and risk committee and ask the Chief Executive to make a recommendation on 2 independent members of that audit and risk committee, one of whom was to be the chair of that committee. I have assessed approximately 10 candidates for these independent positions on the Audit and Risk Committee and make recommendations for the 2 appointments in the public excluded section. The reason I've done that is to protect the privacy of the 2 professional persons that are being recommended there, should the council not accept the recommendations. If the recommendations are accepted, then that information will be put back into public. The other aspect of this report refers to some minor amendments to the charter that council adopted for the Audit and Risk Committee to clarify in particular that a quorum must include an independent member. So, Your Worship, with that, noting that the actual recommendations for the individuals we will deal with in public excluded, the recommendations are there, that the report be received and that the council approve the revised Audit and Risk Committee charter.
Okay, any questions? Yes,
One
councillor
very
Gallagher.
minor qualification. The chair is the external appointee.
One of
Yep. The deputy chair would be sorted out amongst the rest, correct?
Yes, we hadn't given any consideration to a deputy chair, but I guess that's an issue that the committee can address when it comes together.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Bell.
Any particular reason for calling it charter rather than terms of reference?
Not that I'm aware of, councillor. So.
Any other questions? Okay.
So
Moved by councillor McPherson, seconded by myself. All those in favour? Any against? Carried, thank you. Okay, the next item are some minutes. So the first minutes are those from the Strategy and Policy Committee. Councillor Westphal, are you moving those?
Yes, I'll move the extraordinary meeting of the Strategy and Policy, 16th of February.
Okay, seconded by councillor Bell. All those in favour? Any against? Carried. Next ones.
yeah.
And I'll,
Now, these are the ones...
yes.
Yes, so...
And I've just, Chris, come outside to do the...
All right, so do you want to just wait
Yes,
and we
could
come
just
back?
go on to the next thing?
Right,
We'll just put that on hold. We'll
thank
issue
you.
that.
Future-proof implementation committee minutes from 29th of February.
I'll move.
Councillor Westphal's moved those, seconded by myself. All those in favour? Any against? Carried. Statutory management.
Of the 29th, the 1st of March, and also the 23rd of March. Sorry for noting.
Moved, seconded by councillor Forsyth. Okay, all those in favour? Any against? Carried, thank you. Finance and monitoring.
Yes, Your Worship, I'll move the minutes of the 27th of March.
Okay. Seconded by councillor Henneberry. All those in favour? Any against? Carried. Operations and activities. Councillor Gallagher.
Yes, Your Worship. Very important meeting. I'll move that the items, Operations and Activity Performance Committee minutes of the 21st of March 2012, and I move the items for noting and the said items for adoption.
Okay. And those are seconded
Let's
by
go 14 to 16.
Councillor Wilson.
councillor Wilson, seconding those. All those in favour? Any against? Carried. Now, councillor Westphal, we're back to you. Right.
She jumps out.
So we're just taking 5 councillors while we sort
Who's
that
the
out.
deputy chair? Just take it the deputy
Well, we'll
chair.
do the rest while we're waiting, whatever it is.
There are-
She is
there
doing.
are-
I don't know what to do with my-
There are no more in public,
There is
councillor
I'm talking
Mahmood.
about the rest of the items, but I
We
don't even know which
have,
item.
we have done them all.
We're only up
I
to
put
public
in a
excluded.
minute, just saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've done.
So,
The deputy chair can move.
I've got some draft wording in the absence of the chairperson.
Oh,
Go ahead.
wonderful.
While we're waiting.
So, page 11 of the minutes, item E under 17, after Frankton, all car parks to be reserved for market purposes from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. But I would like that to be confirmed by the powers that be. I'll table that.
right.
Could you refer to that page again?
Page 11 of the strategy and policy minutes of the 5th of April.
So just that wording again, councillor Bell?
All car parks to be reserved for market purposes from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
On market day.
On market
on
days.
market days.
Right, okay. So I'm wondering, councillors, if we need to just put those aside, because yes. Okay, so what we might do is we'll go to public exclusion, I think. Because we've got some items on that. So, councillor Wilson, you're going to move public exclusion?
It's a very odd process, Your Worship. We've got one issue left. The chair's disappeared.
Well, I'm just conscious, councillor Wilson, that we keep moving, so...
But
We have to wait.
that means all the media have to leave. They may be interested in this point.
Well, you can tell them afterwards, you.
Yeah.
Okay, so councillors...
That's funny. Councillor Chessman thinks that
I'm
I
wanting to
already work for
move,
them.
quiet please, I'm wanting to move on, so I'm going to move public exclusion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Mahmood. All those in favour? Any against? Okay, so thank you, we're now in public exclusion.